My name is Villioti. Join us as we unpick the threads of our creative fashion community, always remembering our values of nurturing, being commercially savvy and extraordinary. It's a crazy place filled with fun, passion, dedication, and so much laughter, which we love.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Growing Fashion, our review session. Today we are going to be reviewing the new Netflix documentary based on Halston. Halston's story, Halston's life, and just everything Halston. Let's get started.
Okay, who's here?
First of all, we have,
Okay.
we have the wonderful Josh.
Yeah.
Then we've got Mohammed.
Hi guys.
Our new guest, Vanessa Villioti, joining us today. And Villioti.
Yeah.
So let's start off. Halston, everyone. This is very exciting. When last have we had a really good documentary based on a proper 70s designer, Studio 54, bringing all of that forward and showing this generation exactly what fashion was like at that time?
It was amazing. I loved that show. I loved it. I love it. I like any like documentary or TV show that you learn from. I really like to hear about history and the life of people. So for me, that is amazing. I'm not so big on fantasy. I like reality. Not reality shows, but
Oh, you like those two?
I like those. I do like those. I do. So what did you think of Halston?
I was so impressed. I so enjoyed it because I've always liked the 70s
Yeah,
fashion.
Vanessa's a
It's very
70s
much
babe.
who I am, what I'm passionate about, and it goes from sort of the high glam 70s to the
Borderline started the 80s, the cowboy dressing.
but the free living,
the hippie
the
70s.
hippies, and I like that whole era, and I've always liked Halston and his designs, etc. But I never knew a lot about his history. And I was also so interested to see the other famous people who connect into his life and who knew him. And what was her name?
Liza Minnelli.
Liza Minnelli. I mean, we now know her as an old lady, but she enjoyed a fantastic, exciting.
I mean, it's amazing when you think about Studio 54, the 1970s, and that whole crowd. And if you look at just Halston, Halston said, he said something to the effect of, you are who you dress.
Yeah.
And he dressed Marissa Barronson, Elsa Schiaparelli's granddaughter.
Yes.
He dressed Bianca Jagger.
Yes.
He dressed Liz Taylor.
Yes, yes.
Oh, and then
Jerry
the
Hall.
president's wife.
Jackie
That's what
Kennedy.
made it
That's what
famous.
made him famous.
Jackie.
I didn't know that he was actually a hatway designer.
It's a
to start.
milliner.
Milliner.
Yeah,
It was
so
a milliner.
when Halston, so the whole Jackie Kennedy's look, her look was actually decided for her with the help of Diana Freeland. So she actually like collaborated in a sense with Halston on creating the pull box for her. She decided. I mean, Diana Freeland, the famous Vogue,
Yes.
she had decided that Jackie's not going to be like the previous president's wife. Jackie will wear a suit of cloth instead of what they typically wore was furs.
Yeah.
So and it's almost created that relatability where the common woman was now able to, well, not the common woman, the average person was now able to visualize themselves
Yes.
in
Jackie O's
exactly,
suit.
because it was simplistic. It was
Very,
simplistic.
Yeah, and high fashion with the pillbox hat.
Mhm.
That's all you needed to complete your look, to make you a fashionable lady of the times.
But on another note, and what I've seen through the years of being involved in fashion and starting this institution and having students come in and apply over the years, there seems to be, and it's not a study, but it's what I've noticed, a tendency for fashion people to have had a real interest in fashion from a young age. And it doesn't come from anywhere, and it's not an influence from a parent or a sibling. It's sort of naturally inside them. They're born with it.
Instinctful.
So often I've seen it over the years that it's not something that has been taught or influenced. It's just inside
It's
you.
like singing. If you've got a voice, you've got a voice. If you don't have a voice, then
And I mean, they even explore that in the Docuseries.
Yeah.
Because they show us that Halston used to be making hats for his mom. And that's something he did in real life. He made hats for his family.
I
And
have to
he's
put
got
something
nothing.
forward though. There's one thing that I took so much from the Halston documentary, and I took it personally, was that imposter syndrome that he had. So he didn't feel good enough to do what he was doing, and he was doing amazing stuff. And especially with a new generation coming in and the emotional development that a few studies have done with youngsters nowadays, is how imposter syndrome is affecting a lot of people. And watching that Halston documentary and showing how he always went back to needing security somehow, and he got it provided by, I'm sorry, I completely forgot what the gentleman was that invested in Halston. What was his name again? I forgot what his name is. Invested in Halston, but Halston asked that in his contract he was promised security.
to be looked after.
To be looked after, to be taken care of. But it wasn't like to be looked after, contract, you will support me. It was almost a very childish innocence that came from him. That asked for that.
He wasn't a businessman. That's
But
what
that
it
was
wasn't.
something that was very. I mean, obviously, it was it was made more dramatic for the TV series. But in real life, like if you go off what Liza has said about like the Battle of Versailles, he was inconsolable. He did not want to continue with the show. Like they showed a little bit of that on the series, but in real life, they say he did not want to continue because he didn't have things his way. He lost control. He was a control freak.
Yeah.
Because
Well, that's what I wanted to say. Although he had that imposter syndrome, he had on the other side of him, when things seemed dire, he just never gave up.
Yes.
It was, this is going to work, and when you had looked at the circumstance, you were going, well, maybe it's not going to work, but he just never believed that and carried on.
he never gave up. And something that the series doesn't really go into is that even in the end, when he lost his company and he lost his name, he never gave up on trying to still acquire
Never gave
shares.
up, yeah.
He never gave up.
No.
I mean, eventually he did move away, but he never gave up.
That comment at the end, guys, spoiler.
No, we should have given everyone a spoiler at the
But
beginning.
that comment of him saying that he sold his name for millions, but he would pay double to get it back.
Yes. For me, what it also brought for youngsters who have to learn about future in their lives as well is the drug situation and how badly it can affect your future and your decisions and your career. So it was like all of, and drugs are cool and having fun and everything, but the destruction that it causes in the end is so sad. Could you imagine Halston without the drugs? He would have been a different person. Maybe not as creative, I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's something,
That's
that's
the
something,
other thing,
that's something
so-
that all of his friends say. I mean, Joe Euler, and
Liza also tried to convince him.
Liza did, and Elsa Peretti. He would work with Elsa, Joe, the three of them. They would work throughout the night, but because he would have these like sparks of creativity due to his drug usage. But I mean, the collections would be done, and the collections would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
But they say the drug usage was like beyond. It was crazy.
They found in the phone when they opened up the
Yes.
phone in the series and they
Yes.
emptied out the phone and it was just like a whole
Full
new
of cocaine.
thing of cocaine. That was just
That's how much.
it was
So
so troubling.
yes, I mean, it did become quite psychedelic with all of that, and I think that is quite sad at the end of the day that you need that kind of substance to carry on. And
We're talking about the fashion.
Yes.
okay, the fashion.
I mean, come on. I mean, kids today would look back and say, oh, everything is so old-fashioned. But when you look at it, it was so fashion-forward, more than it is today. To be quite more daring, more exciting, more fabulous.
Oh, but the luxury.
Just everything about Halston was simplistic, modern, chic,
feminine.
exactly.
Yes.
I mean, now we wear caftans to the beach. Before he came up with the caftan, none of us were wearing caftans.
Exactly, but if you look at the way he draped, his draping was not just, okay, a caftan, straight grain. No, it was all bias grain draping. So that, and he did this so that it would hit the high points of the body, the hip bones.
But they even mentioned when they brought in the new director to take over Halston, and he was looking at like the budget and what's like cut out and spending and all that, and they saw how it was like $800 and something thousand on test fabrics because he refused to use muslin.
The fabric that the garment would end up
The
in
original
to
fabric.
test it, yeah.
And there was that scene as well where, and I must just say that Krista Rodriguez, who played Liza Minnelli, did such an amazing job at Liza.
They all did.
And when she was standing in front of the mirror and he was just cutting, that reminded me a lot of you, Sparrow. When he was
It also reminded me of
because he just cut that fabric
How
on
he
Liza.
works.
I also
And
like to
then-
use the actual fabric when I'm working on the dummy, because that's the way you can see the way the fabric wants to be handled.
Yes.
So it's really important to play with it, and the fabric tells you what it wants you to do with it. So yeah,
Yes.
I could relate to that.
But I loved that part. And then when Liza was standing in the mirror and he had that red fabric and he was draping it around her, and then he said, no, just wait, and he like cut off that piece and put it around her neck.
Yeah.
And he just made that dress. Well, she wore that dress for a specific event. I will find it and I'll put it up in the.
But let's talk about Ewan McGregor. What an amazing actor.
Oh my word.
Ewan was amazing in this program. Really.
I might have a controversial opinion.
Don't you?
I might have a
Oh,
controversial opinion.
turns drama.
I know. I think he captured. He's a brilliant actor.
Yeah.
You can tell. He captured the way Halston moves. He captured the way Halston speaks. When he spoke, it was Halston speaking. But there's something about his look that just threw me off. Every time he put on those sunglasses, I was like, okay, he'd make a brilliant Roberto Cavalli. But I don't know, something about his look. Because Halston, like everything Halston designed, Halston was long, he was elegant. That was something that was just Halston. Halston was very sleek, very elegant. The way he moved, the way he walked, the way he talked, everything about Halston. And like when I saw him, I was like, yeah, he'd make an amazing Roberto Cavalli.
But I know what to think about. Who else would have been able to play it?
Who else would have? He brought Halston to life, which was important. He did that. He brought Halston to life, and he's Halston for an entire generation. For an entire generation of designers, he is Halston.
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah.
I like the historical factor of it. I mean, Vanessa did say, let's play it to the students, and then
That was before I saw it.
and then after we watch it, maybe they should watch it at home alone, because there are some very hectic scenes in that.
Well,
Well, it really upset Halston's family, and I think that was what really upset Halston's family. Is that personally, I don't feel like it was the most necessary for
I
the
also,
storytelling.
because it wasn't.
Okay.
His story is
It's so much-
special.
Yeah.
They didn't need to
It
focus
didn't
on
need
those
to be
moments.
wrong, as wrong as it was.
It's
Yeah.
demoralized a little bit.
Yes.
A little bit, because I mean, anybody that does their research a bit on Studio 54 and
But
those
you-
times will know
exactly.
what happens behind the
Exactly.
scenes. And we've all watched the Freddie Mercury movie as well, so we
all
know what
Yeah.
happens behind them.
Exactly.
You know, so we don't need to.
I feel like it could have been
But if I could time travel, I would one night at Studio 54.
Can you imagine? We need to have a Studio 54
Oh,
party
we have to.
with clothes on.
Well, remember, dress Can be anything.
Just anything.
Because
If
we're
we're
on
having a
net.
Studio 54 party, I mean, Vanessa, the white horse.
Oh my gosh, I'll
You're
get the
gonna-
white
No,
horse.
you're gonna be on the white horse. You're gonna be
You know
Bianca
what?
Jagger.
Growing up, the 70s disco music was everything to me. I loved anything disco, so I've
You did your whole disco fashion show.
I did
Yeah,
a whole
yeah.
disco fashion show, the 70s show. Yeah, I love the 70s.
I love the 70s too, but I wasn't there. I wish I was.
You weren't even thought of.
I love the 70s, but my parents were only born halfway through the 70s.
Okay, this is like aging me.
But I think that from the Halston documentary being put forward, and I read an article up while I was scrolling through Facebook. Okay, I know we don't use Facebook nowadays, but Facebook's for old people. But
Yeah, I don't
Yes,
use
but Josh, maybe you've crossed.
I think I've crossed over.
I don't use Facebook.
So I was reading an article and they were saying how the introduction of Halston on Netflix to a new generation is so important because everybody is so used to seeing fashion from 80s up and from the like 30s down. They haven't really seen that gap. So it's introducing something new to the young environment, and hopefully we see something like this
I
influence
think
the
it's
runway
gonna,
as well.
I think it's definitely going to influence fashion. This.
No, definitely. Because, like we were chatting about earlier this week, fashion just lacks that. It doesn't feel special anymore.
Not
It
anymore.
feels so monotonous. It feels robotic. It feels like I'm gonna see these people walk down the runway, and when all the time, and it's just a single. It's not inspiring anymore.
Well, it's either
That-
boring or they make it so weird to get attention.
And that when you look at the simplicity, the scene that's standing out to me is when Halston was sitting in the crowd and watching the costumes that he had done for
Yes.
right, and then the montage with all of the Halstonettes walking.
Yes.
And the glam of that is literally giving me chills. It was amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
his simplistic things. I mean,
It's elegance, that chicness.
and it was something
Doesn't
that
exist
and,
anymore.
obviously he exemplified this in his ultra suede the jacket, but Halston's
I
clothes
love
could
that
be
so
worn
much.
by every woman. Halston's clothes never wore the woman wore the clothes. He made the woman the centerpiece of his clothing,
Yeah, he did.
which made it special.
Mhm.
Who wouldn't want to wear something that makes you feel like
Exactly.
you're the star?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
Exactly. And his shirt dress, surprisingly, I got this fact from him, from the mouth of Halston. In an interview, Halston said that he sold over, he said he sold a few 100,000 of his shirt dresses.
Wow.
He said he once went into a room and 30 people were wearing his shirt dress. The ultra straight shirt
But there was
dress.
that scene where he was walking
Yes.
through New York and he turned around and said, oh, what are you wearing? And she's like, oh, it's a holster.
It's a-
And he carried on walking. He was like, all proud.
He said he always felt so proud when people would wear his clothes. And who wouldn't? Who wouldn't?
Who wouldn't?
Who wouldn't?
I mean, clothing is art.
It
is.
is.
Yeah,
It is,
it really
definitely.
is.
Yeah. And it also brings the thing for me again back to the students, because a lot of them think that history is not important, and why do we have to learn fashion history? Because fashion history teaches you what was done and what caused it to be done and how things change. And a program like this, you can see why everything happened and who was this person who changed fashion. Like,
But it's
all
also
of
a
them.
basis of a trend forecast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the basis of a trend forecast. You need to know what has happened
been.
before, what has been, and what is going to be coming. And everybody knows history repeats itself.
Well, I can't wait what's going to happen after this lockdown and mask wearing and all these
Glamour.
I think it's going to hit
Glamour.
high glamour.
Lipstick will be the fashion and we'll have no...
It already is. It already is. As the industry is, sorry, this is impromptu, guys. So, as the world is starting to open up, London's opening up bars, America's opening up clubs, it's like the world is slowly starting to open up. The release of the new Cruella de Vil movie
Yes,
is...
so it looks good.
So, MAC has just released the red MAC... the signature Cruella red lipstick that women are going to be wearing now, and it is so cool. It's so cool, but it's also how you're saying now people are just going to not want to wear their mask, they can wear this bright red.
Yeah, it's going
That's
to
not-
it's
not
like
a new-
look at
it's
my
not a-
look at my full face and
No, that's what I'm
notice
saying.
me.
It's not like a Kardashian nude naked color. It's red.
No, it's going to be bright. We're going to cut our hair into wolf cuts.
What's a
Sorry.
No,
Do you know what a wolf cut is?
no.
It is really what we used to call the mullet.
Oh!
The mullet is in.
I'm
No,
doing
it's
it.
not.
I'm doing it.
A mallet. No,
Yeah, what?
no.
But it's called a wolf cut.
Okay, are we wrapping it up then?
But having
Yeah.
said that, I think that every single budding fashion enthusiast, or actually anybody out there, all of our viewers, take the time to watch the Halston documentary. It is amazing, it's inspiring, it is absolutely brilliant.
I love it.
Do we give it a hot or a not?
Ah, very hot.
Hot.
Astrid, thanks for filming us.
Woo!